I think when I first started to see things really change was like 2014. And when did Gamergate happen? What year was that?
It was like 2013, 14.
2013. So
2014 was your initial raid. 2015,
So that makes sense because I remember 2014. I said I'm to a gamer word, which I'm only not saying them because Lev doesn't want to get banned off of YouTube. But but the F slur I said when I was at Cannes that year in 2014, and like the table of like other film people I was with all just like was like stunned, and I'm like, I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, everyone talks like this, and that was like the first true culture shock for me when I started to notice like the culture was super shifting into this PC territory. And then when 2016 came, then everything got really ramped the fuck up.
It's very interesting that you brought that up because I've always had this thing that I've been saying for the longest time, which is that the whole Gamergate situation was absolutely just people committing like internet seppuku. They just they absolutely just like they were like, we've got problems with all these sort of things, and I'm like, you normally don't want to tell people that. And it was just immediately everything like closed in even more because everyone doubled down, and it was like, oh, we could have had like another 3 good years of everyone just fucking around on the internet, but then everyone had to get pissed and bring the whole fucking temple down.
The thing with Gamergate is that the problem is obviously the grifters at the top. Obviously, that was the biggest one. But it's the narrative of, do you want to fight the culture war, the culture Kampf, as they said in Weimar, Germany, or do you want to say this ethics and game journalism? Like in your work, you talk about this with video games, how it's the narrative was, okay, video games was a safe, neutral space for like, I don't know, men or somewhat to like experience reality on a different level. But then like these SJWs came. It's a bit more nuanced than that sort of narrative of that early, like mid 2000s YouTube, This Week in Stupid type of content. There's something more going on when it comes to, in my opinion, video games ascending to the top production in what, the Frankfurt School would call the culture industry. So now the video games have even eclipsed Hollywood, but at the same time, the Hollywood machine, as you've pointed out, in like a lot of these games, like I was watching a review for the latest Fallout game, or I mean, that abomination of the remake of Castle Wolfenstein. We could get to that, but oh my god, just hitting you in the face. It's like take any Kotaku journalist. Who's that one video guy really pop? Jacob Geller. It's like if Jacob Geller did, but really what happened was, as video games eclipse the mainstream of the culture industry, it becomes the thing that young people interact with in the world. It's almost as if now Hollywood is owning video games in terms of narrative creation. So maybe you could speak a bit about that. And I feel sorry, we haven't gotten into introduction. Maybe you could speak a bit about your start with YouTube and the online world and how you got
Lunch Club and all that.
We totally forgot. We got
this is actually a perfect time to talk about this. When I got into YouTube way back in the day, actually, I was making just lore videos for a game called Stalker, which some of you may be familiar with.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Based on the Russian movie.
Yes. And I made lore videos in that game for a while, and that was mainly just to like sharpen my skills and like get good at making videos. And then I started making game reviews to actually just get better at making videos because they were more like I'm putting my opinion into it and it's like presenting something, right? And then they just kind of like the first one I put up got like 1 million views, and I was like, I guess I'm going to do this for a little while. And my issue with like the games industry has always been, well, I've always been fascinated by propaganda, of course, but like my issue with the games industry as a whole has always been, I think that Charles Carroll actually said this like perfectly, where he was basically like, every game that has come out after 1993 has been suffering.
Yeah.
I was like, exactly. He was like, any game that could have been considered art came out in the 90s. And I was like, yeah. Where it's just like, I feel like there's been this like backslide in games where it's exactly what you said. It's become like Hollywood, and it isn't like games anymore, where it's like every time I play a game, I'm just like, yeah, it feels like a roller coaster. Every single time I'm like, oh, now we're gonna go. This is okay, great.
I think
that's always been my I think it's the Hollywood thing, honestly. Yeah,
and it's also because of the nature of games being so reliant on technology. It's almost as if
Yeah.
like what Walter Benjamin said about the aura, like every artwork has an aura that it's original creativity, right? But video games by definition need, like Hollywood movies, needs larger studios. And so now the fact that we're at a stage where the technology has progressed, it's like that OG, and Lev could speak to this being like an original Newgrounds person, because you also had a video about Flash games. Now that sort of reality of like the individual creator in video games, it's almost no more in some sense.
I made a video about this, I think, a while ago, where I just called it creativity by committee, which is where it's just like, it's everybody has like a little piece of the minute. So it's this disjointed mess.
Mechanical reproduction.
Yeah. And that's what to bring it back to what I was saying before, that's kind of been my main issue with games for the longest time, is just that sort of thing. And the politics to me is not a like primary concern. My concern has always been with games being good. And like the thing is also, people always bring back to like, they think that I don't want politics in games at all. And I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the whole point of the game should not be suffer and watch modern politics be in like this allegory every single time. It's like, I just want to have fun, man. Like I just want to have a memorable, fun experience that makes you go, afterward, or it makes you go, oh wow, that really was, I'm glad that I enjoyed that piece of art.
Well, no matter what, we'll always have Japanese games who are always based. Always
are.
It's like Japanese wrestling. It'll always be there when WWE is shit. So they
I can't think of a single Japanese game off the top of my head that had like ham-fisted politics in such like a cringe or like bad way. Like when a Japanese game handles politics, we get Metal Gear Solid 2.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like people think that I'm a hypocrite when I talk about this, like, but you like Metal Gear. I'm like, that's totally different.
Yeah.
Like you play Metal Gear the entire time.
Okay.
You're just like, you're like, what is he going to do next? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
was Stalker actually based off of the Tarkovsky film?
No.
Yep. Well, it's indirectly, yeah.
Oh, okay. It has the same aesthetic.
The book. Yeah, the book, Roadside Picnic.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, because you know the extreme lengths they had to do to create Stalker. Tarkov. That's how that's how he died of cancer as well, because of the places he's filmed it, and also, but it seems that like post-apocalyptic genre, it's like, is it coming? Like, what do you feel? Is it coming to an end? Is it just oversaturated? Like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's gotten to the point where I feel like there's so much that can still be done with it, but I definitely think that things have gotten into this rut of being like the same sort of post-apocalyptic game where like even like Fallout 4, the way that it took stuff from Stalker in a certain way, like I was really there for it, but they didn't go far enough where I genuinely think that games like Stalker, even if they're not like 100% post-apocalyptic, that kind of exploration where like there are things that are friendly and hostile in the world. And the open world and like the ambient AI, or what do they call the radiant AI in Stalker, is just so much better than like any other game that I've ever played. So it's like, I feel like that's kind of like the future of those sort of games, where it almost feels like, have you ever played DayZ?
I've heard of DayZ. Yeah.
It's like it's hard to explain quickly, but DayZ is kind of like this open map. It's like an Arma mod originally, and like you go around, you spawn with like a Makarov with one mag, and you go and you try and find guns, and people like try and loot and everything, and you try and survive. And like I feel like it's that sort of thing in a single player, or even like Dark Souls style, have people drop in, drop out. I don't know. I feel like that's the future of post-apocalyptic games, which is why shit like Fallout 76 was so weird to me. Whereas like you almost had it, then you went the exact opposite direction. You know, it's like, I don't know. That's my personal